Psych with Mike and Brett is now a book. Psych with Mike and Brett, A User's Guide to Being Human, is our new book that's available at Kendall Hunt, Barnes & Noble, and on Amazon. Pick up a copy today and leave a review. Also, find us on YouTube and subscribe to the podcast. That really helps us out. Now, it's time for Psych with Mike and Brett.
Welcome into the Psych with Mike and Brett library. This is Dr. Michael Mahan.
And I am Brett Newcomb.
What if I was an AI?
Then we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Then I'd be smarter than I currently am?
You'd be plugged in.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
We have discussed this idea of loneliness repeatedly over the last couple of years, and it just appears the problem isn't not only not getting any better, it just keeps getting worse.
Well, we've discussed it more from the concept of insurance companies trying to develop programs that replace therapists, because you can call the computer, you can call the insurance company number and talk to a computer, and the computer learns to say things like, well, say more about that. And how do you feel about that? And have you ever tried this? And then they don't have to pay somebody money, they being the insurance company.
The insurance company.
So we've discussed that a lot. But what you're talking about is the growth of AI programming, which seems to coincide with a lot of news articles and concern about the increase in isolation and loneliness in our population as we age. So as the population bubble ages its way towards death in America, the preponderance, numerical preponderance of people are above a certain age. And so you have this big bracket of older people that are sitting here. And what the research is currently showing is that women as they age are healthier and more prone to longevity than men, to a major degree, because they have invested social networks. They have friends that they hang out with and that they do things with and they talk to about nothing. I mean, you get a group of women having coffee together, they're going to talk about how's your basil plant growing, and did your cilantro come back this year. And men could do the same thing, talk to you about my cilantro plant, but we don't. And we don't get together for coffee in the same way. We don't do when men get together, it tends to have to be an activity like, let's play golf, let's hike, let's fly an airplane, let's ski down a mountain. We don't just get together and hang out.
Or go to a sporting event where we're sitting and we're having a parallel experience. We're experiencing it in parallel, but we're not communicating with each other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what's happening then is suicide rates among older men are going up, because when man becomes too isolated and becomes physically limited in his capacity to survive and take care of himself, the easiest answer is just eat a bullet.
Yeah.
So they do.
And I have been preaching this concept of the connection between loneliness and specifically the bots that the insurance companies are developing, because 15 years ago I was working for an insurance company, an EAP, an Employee Assistance Program, which is like a mini insurance company. We don't have to go into the differences between EAP and insurance. But I know for a fact that we had a bot, so the first touch, by the time I left there, the first touch that anybody got was with a bot. And then if you said something like,
some
I'm suicidal,
was programmed,
then it would automatically escalate to a live person. But you could, if you called up and said, hey, I'm feeling kind of down today, and the bot would say, oh, well, maybe we could talk about that, and would guide you through some preconceived...
It's not just the computer programs for the insurance companies. It's computer electronics in general. Just bought a new car.
Yeah.
The car has a computer system that I can talk to say, turn the temperature up or down, or fix this or that, or do this or the other. But before I get it all set up to do what I want it to do, I get to pick a voice. And do I want it to speak in an English accent or a German accent or an American accent? I mean, you set all that up. And so now they're even offering boyfriend-girlfriend computer voices.
Yes.
So if you're lonely, if you're alone and you need a girlfriend, you can't find one. So you maybe try online dating. That's the newest, hottest way to meet people. When I was in my 40s and single, the wisdom of the populace was go to the grocery store and hang out in the vegetable aisle. And then women will come along and see you trying to pick out vegetables to cook
And
for
they'll
dinner.
want to help.
And they'll want to help, and you start up a conversation, and and so you kind of hang out with your little empty basket in the vegetable aisle and wait until you see a woman that you might be attracted to, and then you go over and say, "Could you tell me what this is? Could you help with it? How do you cook this?" And they'll be like, "Yeah, I'll be glad to help." Well, today that's not the wisdom of the day. The wisdom of the day is go online, put yourself out there in a profile. Somebody will call you. You start a conversation. You both already know this is a potential meetup, and we'll see if we like each other. But if you don't want to do all that, well, then just get one of our little bots,
Right.
and name it Brenda or Sam, and it'll talk to you. And then you can call it and say, "Sam, I'm so lonely. Sam, I'm mad at work today. My boss said we're going to lay you off if you don't meet your quota next week, and I'm scared and I don't know what to do." Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Susie. That's terrible. They shouldn't talk to you that way. You're such a good employee. You've been there for 13 years. Oh my goodness. Well, it makes them feel better.
And
Doesn't change the world, but it makes them feel better for a little while.
so I was concerned about this situation back 15 years ago when I first started to learn about it through the insurance company. Now I'm just so incredibly concerned about it because these companies, Meta, Alphabet, are developing AIs specifically for that marketplace to be boyfriend and girlfriend, and they are selling them that way. They're marketing them that way. And yet we have all of this preponderance of evidence that shows us that interacting with any kind of artificial intelligence is not the same as interacting with a real person. That there are aspects of interaction that are missing, that cannot be replicated in any way when you're talking to an AI, and yet we still keep trying to convince people that this is going to solve the loneliness conundrum. I don't understand
How many
that.
computer programs do you find that want you to create an avatar?
Yeah,
It just
all of them.
And then you can create this avatar that looks pretty much like you, or you can create an avatar that looks like how you wish you looked.
Right, exactly. Because so much of the internet is just your own projection. It's not real. It's just what you're projecting.
So I create this avatar and this voice that says I'm a really sexy 30-year-old woman, and then you're talking to me, an 80-year-old man, and you think you're talking to a young girl. But I'm getting excited by the conversation we're having and playing with mind games with you.
Right.
If it's me doing it. But if it's just a computer doing it, whoever set it up.
Well, so there are a number of things that are wrong with that scenario, right? Right. So I mean, people misrepresenting themselves, especially for malicious intent. That's unfortunate and horrible, but happens all the time. I cannot tell you how many clients that I have had who have had that experience on the interwebs. And so that is frightening. But even if you were misrepresenting yourself as a 17, 18, 19-year-old girl and you're an 18-year-old man, even still, if I am interacting with you, I'm still missing all that nonverbal communication. It's still not the same. And then when you translate that into an AI, now
But the AI shows you the nonverbals of the AI. So it gets facial expressions. It looks like a real person. The physical movement. I mean, you can dance, whatever. So they're trying to adjust for that,
but even
and make it more real.
Okay, and this would be my argument against that. Even when they do research studies of people interacting over Zoom, so a real live person interacting over Zoom, you still miss the majority of the nonverbal behavior because A, of the frame, right? You can't see the entire body. B, because the frame rate that the computer displays the image is less fast than your brain can perceive nonverbal behavior. So
Then
you're
keep
still
up, like-
missing information.
Yeah, mismatched
Right.
gestures.
Right.
We should
And
talk about Richard Nixon had mismatched gestures when he gave speeches.
oftentimes.
And that's another thing.
And for those of you who don't know who Richard Nixon was, he was president of the United States in the early 70s,
that
resigned.
hurts.
And
That hurts
I
to
know.
say
Well,
that.
but people don't. I mean, I remember.
Yeah. Well, you're old enough.
But there are a lot of
Mature
people
enough.
who don't.
Yeah.
So I'm really concerned about. Oh, just as an aside, you were
Yeah.
talking about you can program your car to have a certain accent.
Uh-huh.
I've changed the voice on my cell phone when I use navigation to an Australian accent. And then after a couple of days, I realized, oh, I didn't like that.
Yeah.
And so I changed it back to the default.
Yeah.
But now there is one street at the end of my subdivision that she always does the Australian accent, and I can't turn it off. And it's only one turn in the entire world that happens, and I can, for the life of me, do not understand why that is or how that can be. I'm sure that there's some IT person in the world that could tell me why that is.
Well,
but,
my son could probably tell you.
yeah. But that's so crazy that it would just be one specific turn.
When my wife and I were taking a vacation to Europe, we were going to rent a car and travel around years ago. And my son was 15 at the time. And in that day, cars didn't automatically come with navigation systems. So we bought a TomTom, and we were going to take it with us. So we had to buy a special European map for the TomTom because it came with an American map. So I bought it, and before we went, my son found it, and he went into the programming, and he re-recorded all of the instructions.
Oh.
Turn left in 500 yards. Get in the right-hand lane. Stuff like that. In his voice.
Oh, wow.
And we didn't know it until we're in Europe driving somewhere, and we put the TomTom on, and we're going to this location, and his voice is talking to us about it. And my wife went crazy. She's like, "That's Spencer." And it was. Yeah.
That is, that's amazing. First off, that he could figure out even how to do that, but then that he would invest the time to do that
He
and not
changed
tell you guys.
and didn't tell us.
Yeah,
It was a big surprise.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
So, have you, because you were trailing out of this as this started to become, as AI started to become something that people were using on a regular basis.
Right.
Have you ever worked with a client specifically that had an issue with online connection or?
No.
Okay. And I haven't worked with anybody yet that came in and said, hey, I have this relationship with an AI and it's not going well.
Google doesn't love me anymore.
But I'm sure that that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So if we imagine that somebody came in and said, hey, I feel like I'm in this relationship with this online personality that I no longer find satisfying, what do you do with that?
It's hard to take it seriously as you ask the question.
It is,
It's
but you're going to
beyond-
have to. Somebody, at
No,
some point.
that's the point I'm going to make.
Yeah.
It's beyond my cultural frame for acceptance. I can learn. If I were still going to be doing the work, I would have to learn. But I find myself wanting to make jokes about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to do that. I want to respect it because it's a serious concern. Especially for the global population of lonely people is increasing exponentially. So to me, my approach, I think my approach would be more, how can we get you connected to real people in real situations rather than an electronic person in an electronic situation. It's not like you're on a 12-year journey to Mars and you can't meet any new people. So you have new computer friends to play bridge with or what have you. So I think I would try to approach it from that perspective. I hear it, and it's got to be really upsetting and devastating, especially if you've been rejected by a computer. But can we find somebody?
And my guess is that the programs are going to be constructed in a way where they would never actually reject somebody, although I have heard anecdotal stories about programs that have said pretty horribly egregious things, even including maybe you should commit suicide to people. And that is frustrating to me. Number one, because if let's say that Google makes an AI that says to somebody, well, maybe you should end your own life. Who ends up being responsible for that if that person acts on it? Is Google responsible? Because my guess is they're not. And I think that that is really, really scary. But I will tell everybody who may be listening to this, and especially anybody who is starting a practice or is in a practice that they're intending to be continuing for another 10 years, you better hear this message and you better start thinking about it, because people are going to start showing up to your office and they're going to start talking about these things. They're going to talk about loneliness for sure. And right now I know people are doing that because they come in and talk to me about being lonely, and we talk about how much communication or interaction they have with real live people. But I'm just waiting for the first time that a client comes in and wants to talk to me about an online relationship that is with an artificial intelligence. We've had movies about it, and I think that, people have looked at it and seen the harbinger of it, but I don't know that we're prepared to deal with it.
Is it any different from talking to a child that has an imaginary friend?
Well, so I mean, how old?
5, 6, 7?
No, I mean, yeah, I think it's completely different.
Okay.
Imaginary friends in childhood are essential for cognitive development. That's not abnormal. And a lot of times so obviously that imaginary friend is a projection of the individual's own personality, right?
Or subconscious.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean that the imaginary friend isn't telling them bad things. But that is, in my sense, a completely different psychological situation than somebody who is 35 and has begun a relationship with somebody that they believe to, or somebody who is an artificial intelligence. Listen to me saying somebody who is. It's a machine. It's not even a somebody.
Yeah.
But I think that that's what they're selling us. They're selling us the belief. The companies that are producing these things they want us to think of them as people.
Well, and science fiction writers are promoting stories and movies to exactly to that effect.
Mm-hmm. That where is the line? And we may get to a point where I don't know where the line is.
Well,
but we're not there yet.
Elon Musk is trying to create technology that can be attached to a human brain that can then enhance the capacity of human beings beyond what they normally have.
Yeah.
And right now it's being used to overcome neurological or biological deficits like paralysis, to help give commands to the muscles to make them move that your mind is somehow blocked from doing, which everybody kind of views as a good thing. But eventually it could be, as any other mechanical thing, used for nefarious reasons and in nefarious ways. But the challenges are there, and they're exciting and scary at the same time, which is what you want challenges to be, I think. And we need to just consider the scope and the direction and have some idea how to process it when it happens.
And I guess I'm in a position, the conundrum of, can you ever tell somebody that having an online friend, an AI, is a good thing? Because there are certain people that we used to call autistic, and on Asperger's, which isn't an official diagnosis anymore.
No, but people say they're in the spectrum.
Yeah, people who struggle with human communication and connection, and I've seen them get online and develop friendships, and that be a very robust, positive experience in their life. Yeah. But I also think about people who are the most at risk in our society becoming addicted to these online artificial intelligences, and I don't know how to say to somebody, or I don't know is it my job to say to somebody, that's never a good thing? If it is sometimes a good thing, again, where is the line? I think these are questions.
There's a horrible story in the news this week about a young man, 25 I think, who blew himself up in a car bomb at a fertility clinic. Yeah. Because he belongs to a nihilistic group that believes it's better to be dead than alive.
Yes.
And that as a newborn child should be allowed to die because life is painful and problematic, And if the child dies, then it won't be in pain, it won't have problems. And so they join these groups, and they're like suicide cults and death cults. What if you had an AI that was messaging that?
We were in Palm Springs a week before that happened. This happened in Palm Springs, California. And my wife and I were in Palm Springs a week before that happened. And we actually ate at a cafe that was 2 blocks from where that happened. And obviously it was a week beforehand, so we didn't, it hadn't happened yet. We didn't experience any of that negative consequences because of that. But that's scary. I mean, it just shows you how life is just so random. That could have been the day that guy decided to blow himself up. And there was devastation for several blocks around there. And that would have been horrible. So, yeah, I mean, but yes. And how many people have received indoctrination and decided to become members of Islam or any other religious organization that led them to make really bad choices in life? Not that Islam leads you to make bad choices, but that have been radicalized, as they say, online to engage in what appears to be very cult-like behavior, which is what this guy who was a member of this nihilistic community eventually got to. And if those groups are being led by artificial intelligence, that's really scary. And so I don't know that we have any answers to these problems. I certainly don't have any answers. But this is, for me, the greatest problem that I see on the horizon of psychology.
Well, I think the beginning of wisdom is the recognition of the problem.
I don't know if you just called me wise, but I'm going to take that as a compliment.
Baby steps, little grasshopper.
So the music that appears in Psych with Mike is written and performed by Mr. Benjamin DeClue. We have a new book out, Psych with Mike and Brett, User's Guide to Being Human. We would love it if you would pick up a copy of that book and leave us a review on Amazon. That would really help us out. We would encourage you to go to the interwebs, find us on YouTube, Psych with Mike and Brett, and subscribe to the show there. If it's Friday, it's Psych with Mike and Brett.